Good morning and welcome to the fresh edition of Frontiers of Knowledge. Artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence, facial recognition. These are the buzzwords resonating all over, wherever wide awake, aware persons are there. These buzzwords basically portray a picture of the world that is yet to come, but is coming at a speed which is absolutely fantastic. And there's another buzzword which has been going around for quite some time, that is racial, that is racism, that is discrimination. Now imagine when these words, racial, colorblind, color conscious, discriminatory, come together with artificial intelligence or facial recognition like programs, biometrics, then of course there is something wrong somewhere. Just in a couple of days, there's going to be a major seminar in Stanford University and MIT, we combined one, where one of the papers being presented should likely to create a storm in the world. The world of politically correct people, the world of knowledgeable people, the word of the people who swear by human rights and fairness. The conference is fairness, accountability, and transparency. And as I said, one of the major research that is being presented after documentation is that the so-called facial recognition programs and along with that, the biometrics and others are not acceptable. They are more partial to the white skin and they discriminate against colored skin. Just to start, let me give you an insight. The software for the facial recognition and the biometrics has an error rate of 0.8% for the whites and has 34.7% rate for the dark skin. Are you amazed? I'm not. Whether we accept it or we don't deny it, there has been a slant and favoritism for the white skin all the time. And this facial recognition program has been trained that way. You'll be amazed that all the research, robotics, artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence is essentially reflecting the consciousness of the man behind that software. And the man here evidently has a mind which is pro-white. And the commercial programs from major technological companies, and all three programs have a gender bias and a skin type bias. They'll favor the white skins and they will favor the male. Shocking. But not to me. Sometime back, I made a statement which infuriated a number of people. The people who turn blind eyes to the reality. And I said that the black to the white transformation is a transformation of the emotional content versus intellect. Do you know that the earliest inhabitant of England was a black? not the white skin. Slowly and steadily it developed into white. The earliest inhabitants of the world, as a matter of fact, were black. And as the world progressed, as the man advanced, whether because of the climate reasons, whether because of the genetic reason or whatever, the color slowly became white. And along with the change of the color, changed our emotional content. The blacker you are, the more emotional you are. And the whiter you are, the more, shall I say, you become drained of the emotions. Whether you want to show it, whether it's skillfully done, or whether it happens as a part of nature, is something different. But the fact is that the emotional content in the whites is much less than the blacks. Slowly from the blacks to the browns to the whites, that has been the progression for the decrease of emotional content. But now coming back to this, that all the three commercially released facial analysis programs are gender biased, male oriented, and color biased. As I told you, for the dark skinned women also, it is quite astonishing. For the males, it's 20% error. For the females, 34% error. So 0.8% error for the light skin, 20% error for the dark-skinned male, and 34% error for the dark-skinned female. Now the finding, as it has been done in the two major universities, MIT and Stanford, is disconcerting. This raises questions about today's neural network, which leads to perform the computational task for looking into the patterns of the data sets, how they are generated and how they are evaluated. And one major US technology company claimed an accuracy rate of 97% they had designed, but when it was tested in Stanford, it was found that it was 77% correct for the males and more than 83% for the white males. But for the blacks and the browns, it was appreciably low. The same data-centric equipment can be used to try to determine somebody's gender is also easy. Because you're looking for, suppose you're looking for a criminal record. And the moment you put in the parameters, you will see a list of more blacks, more browns, and less whites. You are at the airport, imagine. You are a white, and because it is correct, you can be passed off. But in case of black, even if you are a right person, because the error is 34.7, there is 1/3 likelihood and possibility that you might be detained for further questioning. Quite possible. You might be released after a couple of hours. You might be released after 1 day. But the harassment is going to be genuine. We talked of the racial profiling in Toronto, where the police would stop a black or a brown driving a nice car, a white male. The same thing which was in the human mind has been transferred to the robot's mind. Who is responsible for this? According to MIT Media Lab, Joy Baldwin, who is the author of this, she says, it's not just about computer vision, but about the disparities that's likely to create and wrongful detentions and harmful effects. I'm amazed that all the three programs that have come today in facial recognition can be used to match the faces in different photographs and assess characteristics like gender, age, and mood. But if the error is as high as 34.7%, what's the reliability of the data generated and the results delivered? Now, we cannot say that this is a biased interpretation, because the team which worked on that is a multicultural, is ethnically diverse. And Bolovini, who's the leader, is herself black. And would you believe she submitted photographs of herself to commercialized facial recognition programs? In many cases, the programs failed to recognize the photos as featuring human face at all. They said, no, it's not a human being. Now imagine a human being's photo is being presented to a facial recognition program and comes back that ticket saying it's not a human being. Can there be anything more ridiculous? And are we going to put store and depend on such facial recognition programs? That's the problem. You see, quantitative standards are important, as are qualitative analysis. In this test, they had 1,200 images, so that all sorts of representation could be there. And all the time, the results were the same. The error rate for gender classification is again higher for the female than for the male, and for dark-skinned subjects than for the light-skinned subjects. For example, the sign code 4, 5, 6 on Fitzpatrick scale, the error rate for dark women was 20.8%, 34.5%, and 34.7%. And for still darker women, who are very dark, it was as high as 46.8%. Now, 50% error possibility, half, 46.8% is 47. So it's almost half. If half the time the facial recognition is wrong, then how can you depend on that? The schemes of biometrics and the facial recognition at airports, the much wanted Aadhaar in India, they are all likely to flounder because of the failure to transmit the reality. If a picture of a black woman can be decided, can be unanimously by all the facism said to be that the face doesn't belong to the human being, it is of some other species, I don't think any more comment is required. You see, let's not forget that data has a lot of influence on what sort of policies you are going to make, what sort of models you are going to create. And here, till we find that till the balance is there in that data, racial discrimination, racial profiling would increase. And then, another fault. If it's a human being, and then there's racial discrimination, you can always say, well, it's a human error, and you can punish the person. Here, you cannot punish the machine, except to throw it in the garbage. And the governments, once they have decided something, and the societies in general think that the machines are infallible. For example, there's an information on Google, mistaken, wrong, anything, or half of it. People say, well, it's on the internet, it's on the Google, there's the evidence. No, it's not the evidence. Because it is biased, it's half-baked, it's wrong. You have the brain to consider it, but no, go anywhere, and that will be counted as a verifiable evidence. Now, chief architect of IBM's Watson artificial intelligence system, she says that Watson has more capability and is more balanced in accuracy. And that too after working for 9 months. But then, this model Watson, is not in response to the paper, and it has faltered for 8 months. Now when it's put in practice, because it's still not commercialized as far as the facial recognition program is concerned, we don't know. So we have got to take and accept one thing, that artificial intelligence and augmented intelligence are human created. That a human bias, human liking, or disliking would be unconsciously, and maybe many times consciously, deliberately, willfully, be transferred to that computer model, to the software. And once you transfer it to the software, then the host of problems will arise. Yes, racial discrimination shall increase, racial profiling shall increase, and that would not be something which you can even attack in a court of law, because the computer says so, forgetting that that computer is the work of a man who is racially biased. So this is incumbent now on the scientists on the one side and the political leadership on the other to ensure that such sort of artificial intelligence, this sort of the facial recognition programs, are not deemed to be infallible. We should not assume that simply because artificial intelligence says something, it, like the pole, is infallible. It's not. So we have got to accept that these machines who are coming down are not the repository of fairness, honesty, and justice. They reflect the mind of the people who have made them, and human beings are never perfect. They should be used not as a final arbiter, but as a means to an end, to aid and assist human beings rather than to dictate. This flaw has not been addressed till now. It has not been talked about till now. Why? Because the leaders want to maintain a cone of silence on the reality. And in this episode of Frontiers of Knowledge, we have informed you how twisted human emotions are finding a reflection in the machines that we are going to deem infallible, and how the so-called facial recognition programs can be mistaken, can earn as much as 48%. Now it's for you to decide how much trust you can put in such biased, motivated programs which are essentially racially directed. Thank you.